Hello and welcome back everyone to another pre-recorded lesson video. Today we are going over lesson 4. Okay, this is the one of the last lessons, I think either the last lesson or the second to last lesson of Act 1, Scene 1, right? We are almost done with the first part of the play. Y'all are doing a great job so far. Make sure that you're keeping up with the other lesson videos or you're attending the live virtual classes, because I think everyone is going to need extra help reading this book, this play, because Shakespeare is very hard to understand. Okay, so make sure you're keeping up with that, and make sure you're keeping up with all your assignments, okay? There have been 2 discussion posts so far, so make sure you have posted them both. Okay, but the focusing question for this lesson is still the same. We're focusing on how do the characters in the play understand love, right? And the content framing question for today is, what does a deeper exploration of figurative language in the play reveal? So we're going to be going over figurative language because there is a lot of figurative language in this play, especially metaphors and similes, and then we're going to be introducing a new one called hyperbole today, okay? So, and remember, the essential question for this entire module, everything that we're doing, is what is love, right? We have to answer that question at the end. What is love? So keep that in mind as we go throughout these lessons, okay? But let us move on. So the learning goal for today, again, is we're going to analyze how figurative language reveals an idea about love. Because Shakespeare loves figurative language, and this play is full of it, right? Don't worry about that work time expectation. We will not be doing that. I just want y'all to just keep up and constantly review so that you're understanding exactly what's happening in the play, okay? But for the welcome, I want y'all to finish these sentence stems. I don't want you to do all 3. I just want you to choose one and finish it out. As you can see, the first one says love acts like a. Second one is love feels like a. And third one is a little bit more challenging. So if you want to choose that one and challenge yourself, go for it. More power to you. It's love is as blank as a blank, right? As you can see by the use of the word like and as, this is a simile, right? It's going to be comparing love to any word that you choose to fill in the blank. So just choose one of these and then come back to this video whenever you're done, okay? Welcome back. Hopefully you came up with a great word to finish out the simile sentence stems. So I have a couple examples. For the first one, for love acts like a, I put a blanket, right? When it's cold, in your wherever you are, and you put a blanket on, right? You feel warm, you feel comfortable, you feel cozy, right? I feel like love acts like a blanket at times, right? It makes you feel warm, makes you feel comfortable. The second one, love feels like a, I put a warm sun, right? Whenever it's summertime and the hot sun is beating down on you, you feel warm again, right? You feel comforted, you feel happy, right? Whenever it's really sunny outside, you feel a little bit happier instead of when it's cloudy, right? Third one, I put love is as unpredictable, right? At random, you don't know what's going to happen, unpredictable, as a rock. Some people could be like, a rock isn't unpredictable, but what is a rock, right? It's solid, it's strong, it's stable, right? It is a solid. But even the strongest rocks can break if you throw it or put enough force on it, right? So it's unpredictable. So no matter how strong a rock looks, it can still break if you use enough force. And that's what sort of love is. No matter how strong a relationship is, no matter how much you love someone, if the problems that you're going through is strong enough or big enough, then that relationship could end, right? That love can fade. And that's why I think love is as unpredictable as a rock, right? Where the love can fade if the problems you're going through is strong enough. And we're going to eventually go into the problems that the couples that we're reading about are going through, especially Lysander and Hermia, and Demetrius and Helena, right? But let us move on. So it is playtime. This is the last part of scene 1, like I said. And in this one, we are going to be going over, I have the handout right here. We are going over Helena. Helena is finally getting introduced, right? So for this handout, the lines we're going to be focusing on are going to be from Enter Helena all the way to Exit Helena, or Exit everybody, right? And then Act 1, Scene 2 is going to start, and we're going to start that next week, okay? So we're going to go from Enter Helena. So I want y'all to read this. If you don't want to read the original Shakespeare version, you don't have to. Just try to read the modern text. It is a little bit easier. So read this and then come back to this video. I promise it's not that bad, especially if you read the modern text version. Or what you can do is go to this video, right, and watch this play and listen to the actors and follow along with that text. Okay, so do that and come back to this video whenever you're done. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you are understanding exactly what's happening in that part of the scene. Is the last part of scene 1. It's where Helena is sort of just bearing her soul. She's confiding in everything. The summary of what happens in that is Helena comes in, she sees Lysander and Hermia talking, and she just tells Hermia, hey, why does Demetrius like you so much? I wish I was as beautiful as you. I'm jealous of you. I feel lesser than you. I wish Demetrius would love me the way he loves you. Every time I talk to him, he hates me a little bit more, right? And then Lysander and Hermia say, hey, you don't have to worry about anything. We're running away, so maybe Demetrius can focus on you now since Hermia won't be here. And, Lysander and Hermia are like, we're about to run away tomorrow. Don't tell anybody, right? And then they leave, and Helena basically just goes into a massive speech, and it is a great speech about her views on love and how love is weak and how love is sort of like a lie, right? So Helena then decides to tell Demetrius about Lysander and Hermia running away because she thinks that, hey, maybe Demetrius will feel grateful to me for telling him this information, and maybe he'll start liking me again, right? So I want y'all to think about this question. How do Hermia, Lysander, and Demetrius each feel about Helena, right? How do Hermia, Lysander, and Demetrius each feel about Helena? Remember in the last lesson, or last couple lessons, we focused on Lysander, um, Hermia, Demetrius, and Aegeus and how they feel towards each other. Now we're going to be focusing on Hermia, Lysander, and Demetrius and how they each feel about Helena. Okay, so I want you to brainstorm about this a little bit, and after you're done thinking, come back to this video, okay? Okay, welcome back. So some of the possible responses that you could have is that, Helena says Demetrius hates her, right? They used to date, now they're done, and Demetrius just cannot stand Helena. In the lines he says, the more I love, the more he hateth me. So Helena says, the more I love Demetrius and the more I talk to him, the more he hates me, right? Then for Hermia thinks of Helena as a friend. They grew up together. They're childhood friends. They're really good friends, right? They've known each other most of their lives. So Hermia calls Helena a sweet playfellow. So a sweet friend or sweet person that I used to play with. And she wishes her good luck with Demetrius. Lysander also wishes her good luck with Demetrius, and that Demetrius should return her love for him, right? Lysander says, as you on him, Demetrius dote on you. So as you show him attention, Demetrius should show you that same amount of attention, right? And Lysander wants Helena and Demetrius to end up together because that would benefit him in the future, because then Demetrius would stop chasing after Hermia, right? And then eventually him and Hermia could live together without fear of getting caught and all of that, right? So that's how they really feel about Helena. I feel a little bit sad for Helena at times because she does love Demetrius so much. And in her speech at the end, she does say, that it is a mistake of, Demetrius, how Demetrius treats me and how Demetrius just shows Hermia all his attention, right? She thinks that's a mistake, but she also admits that she's making a mistake by chasing after Demetrius, right? Helena knows that she is wrong and that it's a mistake for her to show Demetrius all this love and attention when he doesn't even care about her, right? Helena understands that, but she loves him so much that she doesn't care, right? That's how she views Demetrius, and that's how she views love. Okay? So, how are we going to be able to see exactly what the characters think about love, especially in the Shakespeare version, is by looking for figurative language, because William Shakespeare loves figurative language. So there's going to be a lot of metaphors. Remember, that's comparing two things without using like or as. Similes, that's comparing two things with using like or as. So a metaphor would be Mr. Kang is a cheetah, right? I'm comparing myself, Mr. Kang, to a cheetah without using like or as. So instead of saying Mr. Kang is really fast, I'm saying Mr. Kang is a cheetah, right? For a simile, it would be Mr. Kang is as fast as a cheetah, right? Using as right there, right? Next is a personification that is giving uh, human actions and human verbs to an inhuman thing. So, an example would be the wind howled at night, the wind screamed at night. So, howled or screamed, that's the human verb, human action, and giving it to an inhuman thing, the wind, right? And hyperbole is a new one that we're introducing. Shakespeare loves hyperbole. Hyperbole is basically just an over exaggeration or being dramatic for effect or emphasis. Okay. So an example of hyperbole is maybe if someone says this book is the worst book in the world, is that actually true? Is that actually the worst book in the world? No, right? You're being dramatic to show emphasis on your point for the audience or the reader, right? Another one would be those examples of metaphors and similes I gave you. Metaphors and similes are also hyperbole sometimes. So me saying Mr. Kang is as fast as a cheetah, am I really saying I'm as fast as a cheetah? No, I'm being dramatic. I'm exaggerating for emphasis on, by showing how fast someone is, right? You have to be dramatic. You have to provide emphasis if you want to really help the reader um, understand what you're trying to say and what point you're trying to make, right? Those are examples of hyperbole. So we're going to be looking at metaphors and hyperbole today. That's basically um, the two big ones that keep showing up in this part of the scene that we are looking at, right? But before we go into metaphors and hyperbole and everything like that, we have to introduce a new vocabulary word because one of the biggest metaphors or figurative language in this part of the scene that we're going to be looking at includes a word that you may not know yet. It is perjured. So, perjured basically means guilty of lying in a court by giving false testimony under oath. Okay. So that's basically lying. Another word for perjured is lying. Okay, that's this picture would be a really good example of someone that is lying, right? In court, you have to raise up your left hand and put your other hand on the Bible and swear that you will be telling the truth. That little fingers crossed behind your back, that's like the universal sign of saying, hey, I'm lying. So it's basically someone lying, right? Perjured is another way of saying that someone is lying. So keep that in mind as we go through the figurative language. In lines 136, Helena tells Hermia, let me pull this up, that your eyes are like lodestars. Okay. Actually, we'll just do it from here. You can follow along and find it. So she says your eyes are lodestars. Lodestars are basically stars that people on ships or captains used to use to guide where they are and navigate before GPS or like maps or things like that, right? Another example is the North Star. Some of you have probably heard of what the North Star is. A lot of people use the North Star to know exactly where they are and guide them. So Helena is basically saying, Hermia, your eyes are like lodestars. Your eyes are lodestars. That's an example of a metaphor, right? Comparing Hermia's eyes to lodestars. So the actual literal meaning of that is saying your eyes are very bright. Your eyes are like stars that the people on ships used to guide them at night. The deeper meaning of that is, Hermia, your eyes are so bright, and men are attracted to your eyes because your eyes basically guide them. Like men like Demetrius are drawn to you because your eyes are so bright and so pretty. Another one is your tongue's sweet air, more tunable than lark. That's basically saying, Hermia, your voice is as sweet or as beautiful as a lark, right? So the deeper meaning of that, and a lark is a type of bird, right? So she's basically saying your um, voice is more beautiful than a bird, right? So the deeper meaning of that is just saying your eyes are very bright, your voice is beautiful. Why are you so perfect, right? Helena is very jealous of Hermia and everything that she has, okay? Eventually, in Helena's last speech before she exits, she says, everyone in the city thinks I'm just as pretty as Hermia, but if Demetrius doesn't think so, why does it matter, right? She's very heartbroken right now. The other figurative language that you're going to find on line 190 is sickness is catching. And then she says, I wish your beauty was contagious too. So she's basically, it's another metaphor. She's basically comparing sickness to beauty, right? She's basically saying sickness is contagious. Think of COVID. COVID is very contagious, right? Helena is wishing that Hermia's beauty was as contagious as a sickness, as a flu, as a cold, as COVID. She's basically saying, I wish I could catch your beauty. I wish I could get your beauty as easily as I can get illness, or as easy as I can get sick. She's very jealous of Hermia. She feels inferior to Hermia, basically, is what this metaphor is telling us. She feels lesser than Hermia. Her confidence is very low right now because Demetrius keeps breaking her heart, right? Next one is hath turned heaven onto hell. This is what Hermia says. This is another metaphor. This is also a hyperbole. All of these so far have been hyperbole as well. So Hermia, this is the one Hermia says. Hermia in this quote is basically saying, Athens, the city that they live in, used to be this great paradise, this heaven to me, this great place for me to live and grow up in. But now, after meeting Lysander, it turned into hell. Athens hath turned heaven onto a hell. So she's basically saying, after meeting Lysander, this great place I used to live in is now a place I can't be in anymore. And that's because that city, Athens, is the reason that she can't be with the love of her life, Lysander, right? The city and the laws in that city is what's keeping Lysander and Hermia from marrying each other. And that's what she's saying. Athens, that used to be heaven, is now hell. She's comparing Athens to heaven and then hell, right? So that's a metaphor. There's also hyperbole, right? A city isn't actually hell, right? So she's being overdramatic about saying how bad the city is to her. Other one is lover's food. I'm going to skip that one a little bit because that one's a little bit complicated to really understand. And it's also, once you get the metaphor, it's really easy. So she's basically saying, Lysander, every time I see you, it's like lover's food. I feel comforted. I feel full, right? After you eat, you feel full. You feel comforted, especially like Thanksgiving, right? You're stuffed, right? You're content. You're happy, right? You're satisfied. And that's how she feels whenever she sees Lysander. And then the last one is a very important one. I'm actually going to show this one because this one is Helena's big speech at the end, and it's a very good speech. So right here, it says, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. Oh, wait, it's right. And therefore is love said to be a child, because in choice he is so oft beguiled, as waggish boys and game themselves forswear, so the boy love is perjured everywhere. For ere Demetrius looked on Hermia's eyne, he held down oaths that he was only mine. And this whole thing, Helena is comparing love to a child. So it's a metaphor. And why she's comparing love to a child is because a child is very weak. A child is very innocent, right? So she's saying love is very weak. Love is very innocent, right? And sometimes children make bad choices, right? So she's basically saying love makes you make bad choices, makes you be hasty, reckless, impulsive, and sometimes it makes you weak. It makes you feel weak, right? She often says that love is a child because love is also very fragile, that love can be gone instantly. And she says this by saying that so the boy love, the child love, is perjured everywhere. Remember, the word perjured is lied to everywhere. She's basically saying Demetrius used to look at me the way he looked at Hermia. He used to shower me with promises, show me love, and he promised me that he would be mine forever. And then along comes Hermia, and he broke all of those promises. So she's basically saying love is weak, love is fragile, love lies, because Demetrius lied to me whenever he said that he was going to love me the entire time, right? So that final speech really makes you feel and sympathize for Helena because she really does love Demetrius, and Demetrius ended up breaking her heart, and that lowered her confidence, and she's just so jealous of Hermia, right? So hopefully you're seeing that. I just wanted y'all to get more familiar with figurative language that you're going to find in this play because Shakespeare loves metaphors, right? He is a massive fan of metaphors, okay? So that is basically it for Act 1, Scene 1. And remember what you should do after you are done reading a text or anything like that. You should always be able to write a summary, right? So what I did for y'all is I gave you an example of a summary, so it'd be a little bit easier for you. Okay, so this is an example of a summary that I gave y'all. So this is a summary of Act 1, Scene 1. So this is basically Theseus, Duke of Athens, is planning the festivities for his upcoming wedding to the newly captured Amazon Hippolyta. Aegeus arrives with his daughter Hermia and her two suitors, Lysander and Demetrius. Aegeus demands that Theseus enforce Athenian law upon Hermia and execute her if she refuses to marry Demetrius. Theseus threatens Hermia with either lifelong chastity or death if she continues to disobey her father. Lysander and Hermia make plans to flee Athens. Right? It's a great summary. It introduced, remember, every summary should introduce the important characters that got introduced and who they are, right? And the important events that's happening and the conflict, right? So we introduce the characters Theseus, Duke of Athens, Hippolyta, with his daughter Hermia and her two suitors, Lysander and Demetrius, and a little description of both. And then the events that are happening, right? They arrive, talk, and then the conflict, which is this. Theseus giving Hermia her three choices, and Lysander and Hermia deciding to run away. Right, so I want you to read that summary by yourself and just try to remember that because I'm going to introduce these summaries quite a bit so that you are familiar with exactly what's happening in the story, okay? Because I'm going to give you all some quizzes. I will be uploading a quiz either Thursday or Friday, so today or Friday, about what's happening in Act 1, Scene 1 so far, okay? So text-based evidence, we should always be annotating and looking for evidence, right? So I want y'all to think, do you think Hermia should disobey her father? Yes or no? For the yeses, what is the biggest reason that Hermia should not listen to her father and just do her own thing? In my opinion, the biggest reason is love, right? So if you think that, what you should be doing is you should be going through the play and underlining anything that has to do with Hermia and love and why she, and the love that she feels for Lysander, right? So these are just some of the lines that come with that, right? This is basically some lines about Hermia and Lysander and why she should disobey her father and how she eventually disobeys her father by running away with Lysander, right? And the biggest reason for why she should listen to her father and not run away and just marry Demetrius is death, right? Or the consequences of being a nun or anything like that. So you should go in the play and annotate lines like that, right? So some of the lines I pulled out were lines that from that meeting with Theseus of, as she is mine, I may dispose her, I may kill her, right? Some things like that. And why I want to introduce annotating again is because we're going to be focusing on annotating quite a bit in the next coming weeks. And I just want y'all to get comfortable with annotating because annotating really does help out in understanding first exactly what's happening in a text, and that could lead us into writing better summaries, finding theme, key ideas, things like that. And also is a really good test taking skill. Like, remember in the test that we take, there's always paragraphs and passages I give you, or the district gives you. And annotating really helps out in being able to answer questions because you underline key ideas, exactly what's happening, character information, figurative language, and that could lead you into picking the right answer choices for a question, right? So I just want us to really focus on annotating for the future and just get better with it because the only way to get better at something is constant practice, right? Practice, practice, practice makes perfect, right? So if you have any questions about this lesson so far, let me know because that's basically it for um, Act 1, Scene 1, right? I will be uploading a quiz over exactly what happened so far, just so I know that you are keeping up with the play because I am giving you a lot of resources, a lot of outside resources to help you figure out exactly what's happening in the play so that you don't have to read this entire play yourself because Shakespeare can get really hard. Right, so that is it for lesson 4. If you have any questions, email me or message me on Schoology or go to the question board. But other than that, I will see you here for lesson 5, I believe. I'll see you here for the next pre-recorded lesson video. Bye.